Hello there, Kevin here with another episode of the Feel Good English Podcast. I have some bad news for you, unfortunately, and the news is you are not as smart as you think you are. And where did I hear this news? Well, I heard it from the book, You Are Not So Smart, Why You Have Too Many Friends on Facebook, Why Your Memory is Mostly Fiction, and 46 Other Ways You're Deluding Yourself by David McRaney. Yeah, that's the name of the book. That's a pretty long book title. Whether you're deciding which smartphone to purchase or which politician to vote for, you think you are a rational being whose every decision is based on detached logic. But here's the truth. You are not so smart. You're just as deluded as the rest of us. But that's okay because being deluded is part of being human. This book is fun. It shows ways that we delude ourselves, that we make decisions based on things that aren't quite logical. You Are Not So Smart will teach you some things that we do so in the future you can be a little more open-minded, or at least be a little bit more aware of why you do the things that you're doing. You Are Not So Smart is the book for today. If you want a transcript to this episode, go to feelgoodenglish.com/member and do something smart. Become a member for free and get free transcripts. Let's get into the episode. In 2008, there was a study on Amazon customers, you know, the website Amazon. There was a study on people who bought Barack Obama's book before he became president. And what they found is the people that bought his book were all very strong supporters of his campaign. And this was after they bought the book. People were seeking confirmation in why Barack Obama was great, and not information about him. This is called confirmation bias. We recall events which support our beliefs and conveniently forget any which contradict them. Our opinions of things are not objective or rational at all, because we only pay attention to information that confirms what we already believe in. Through studies, they found that we spend more time reading articles and blog posts and books based on things that we already believe in. So if you go online and you find an article about something that you think is true, you will put more time into reading that than if you found something that is against your opinion. Interesting, huh? So what it means is we are not even reading things that can open our eyes to the other side of the argument. We just want to find things that confirm what we already believe. So next time you're in a meeting at work, or maybe you're in a classroom, pay attention to how you are filtering certain information and how you're filtering out information that doesn't coincide with what you believe. It takes a lot more open listening and a lot more awareness. And again, a lot of these things are subconscious, so it's hard to even notice, but just pay a little more attention to when you are having a debate and when you're talking to somebody, to be open to both sides and to take in information from both sides. Another lesson from this book is how much we try to protect our self-esteem, to protect our self-image, and the different strategies we use to maintain our self-esteem. Without self-esteem, getting through the day would be very difficult. If we think we're worthless and weak people, the day would be difficult. So we naturally try to protect our self-esteem. We use strategies to nurture our self-esteem. One of these strategies is to give ourselves sole credit for our successes, yet blame external factors for our failures. So something good happens, it's because you did a good job. Something bad happens, it's because somebody else screwed up. So protecting ourselves by taking credit for good things, but avoiding being to blame for bad factors. Another strategy is to pay close attention to the successes and failures of others in order to judge our own worth and boost our self-esteem. Especially these days, how many of you look at Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and you're just judging what other people are doing and then connecting with your life. They're doing more than you, their job's better than you, they have more money than you, or worse, or their school's better, they're getting more attention than you are. Another strategy to maintain our self-esteem is called self-handicapping. And this self-handicapping involves coming up with excuses for an imagined future failure to avoid the risk of feeling bad about ourselves when that failure becomes a reality. We imagine the conditions in the future that would lead us to failing, and we avoid them. To give you an example, there was a study where subjects were given a difficult test and told afterwards that they've scored perfectly, whether it was true or not. But they said, oh, you got 100% on this test. Then the subjects in the test were offered a chance to either take a performance-inhibiting drug or a performance-enhancing drug before a second test. Most people chose the drug they thought was performance-inhibiting. Neither of the drugs actually did anything, but they wanted to take the one that was performance-inhibiting, demonstrating that most people wanted to protect their newly gained self-esteem by creating conditions ahead of time that would excuse a potential failure. So if they took this performance-enhancing, maybe they wouldn't do as good as they did the first time, and they wanted to protect themselves to make sure that they didn't lose this self-esteem. They were already seen as somebody who did perfect on the test. So even if they were given performance-enhancing drugs, the possibility of not being perfect on the next test was real in their minds. So they tried very hard to avoid this, and they actually wanted to take a drug that would make them do worse, and they could blame it on the drug. So it appears to maintain our self-esteem, we find ways to inflate what we like most about ourselves. And on top of that, we create future conditions for failure, so it won't be our own fault if we don't succeed. Very interesting that we would do these things naturally without even thinking about it as protective measures to protect ourselves and to make ourselves feel better throughout the day. One last thing here in the book is the author says that we aren't as helpful or fair to people as we think we are. Imagine you see a car broken down at the side of the road. Would you pull over and lend a hand or keep on driving, telling yourself that someone else will be along soon enough? So somebody's broken down, but there's people everywhere who say, I don't need to help, somebody else will. Well, this is called the bystander effect, and it refers to the fact that our inclination to help others diminishes if there are other people around. There was a tragic story of a woman who was stabbed for 30 minutes in public. This happened in New York. For 30 minutes, she was getting stabbed, and there was people all around, but nobody came to help her. She was yelling for help, but everybody was looking at each other, and not one person went up there and helped her. So a very tragic example of this bystander effect. A possibly life-saving tip is if you're ever in trouble and there's a group of people around you, simply point to one person and ask that person for help, because then that person will feel obligated to come help you. You're in the street, somebody comes up with a baseball bat and starts hitting you. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But instead of just yelling, help, 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 look for one person in the crowd and say, hey, you, help, help, help. And they'll feel obligated to come and help you and stop the guy from hitting you with a baseball bat. In going over the vocabulary from today's episode, first word I use that I'm going to talk about is deluded, or deluded yourself. To delude is to trick or to fool, to deceive. So you're not being honest, or you're trying to trick someone, or in this case, you're trying to trick yourself. So you're actually trying to trick yourself. You're deluding yourself. You're not getting the real information, the facts. Detached logic. So detached means disconnected. So there's logic, but you're detached from the logic. So at 48 seconds, when I say detached logic, it means you're not connected to logic. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is a psychological term, meaning we find information, or we only see information that confirms our beliefs. If you are biased, B-I-A-S-E-D, it means you are one-sided on a certain topic, or your opinions are not balanced. You say your child is the best, of course, because it's your child. So you are biased. You are biased, you're not giving a fair opinion. Confirmation bias is we only look to find, or we only pay attention to information that confirms what we already believe, which can distort reality, which can delude us, right? at 3 minutes and 10 seconds, filtering information. To filter something means to take out things that you don't want. Like in coffee, you make coffee, you use a filter. You put the coffee grounds, the broken up coffee, into a filter. You pour water on top, and the coffee goes through the filter, and the coffee grounds stay in the filter. So you're filtering out information. You're taking out the information that you don't want. 3 minutes, 38 seconds, a very big topic here at the Feel Good English podcast, self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. If you have a high self-esteem, it means you feel good. You think you are a valuable person. If your self-esteem is low, you think you're not very valuable. You think you are weak. You think you have a lot of problems. So in the book, they're talking about how we protect our self-esteem, how we want to protect our feelings about ourselves. 4 minutes, 54 seconds, self-handicapping. Handicap means you have a deficiency or you have a disadvantage. If you are somebody that has a physical handicap, it means you might not be able to walk, or whatever it is about your body, you have a disadvantage compared to other people. So in the book, they talk about self-handicapping, how we give ourselves disadvantages for future circumstances so we can avoid seeming like we are a failure. So other people can blame it on our handicap, and we can blame it on our handicap and not ourselves. Does that make sense? 5 minutes, 30 seconds. Performance inhibiting. To inhibit means to prevent or to get in the way of, to obstruct. So a performance inhibiting drug means it inhibits, it obstructs, it gets in the way of you performing at your best. If you drink alcohol, that inhibits your ability to drive. It puts you at a disadvantage. You are not as aware. You're not as alert. Speaking of awareness, I use the word aware a lot in this episode. Aware, A-W-A-R-E, is to notice, to be conscious of something. I am aware that you are upset. However, we need to figure out this problem. Or yesterday, I was aware of the fact that the building that I live in was having some electrical issues. I was aware of that. I was conscious of that. 6 minutes, 55 seconds. To lend a hand. This is an expression, to lend a hand. The word lend is the opposite of borrow. To lend something is to give something to somebody. To borrow is to take something from somebody. By the way, that's a very, very commonly misused couple of words. To lend, give. To borrow, take. So to lend a hand is to give somebody help. To lend a hand is to give somebody help. You don't actually give them your hand. Well, you could kind of, if you need to help them with your hand, then yes, but you're giving them help. So yeah, I'll lend you a hand. I will help you. 6 minutes, 50 seconds. Broke down. It's a phrasal verb, to break down. We use this for a machine or a car, usually some type of electronic or something that uses power to function. And when this breaks, we say break down. Often we use it for cars. The car broke down. The car broke down and is on the side of the road. 7 minutes, 7 seconds. Bystander effect. Bystander. B-Y-S-T-A-N-D-E-R. A bystander is somebody who witnesses something happening. Could be a crime or an accident, but doesn't do anything about it. They just watch. So this book is a fun read. You Are Not So Smart. Opens your mind up to some things that you do that you're not even aware of. Are these things that you really need to change a lot? Not necessarily, but it is interesting to see how we aren't as logical and irrational as we think we are. And this can help you in business and school and decision making in general. Open your eyes a little bit to why you might be doing what you're doing and maybe give you some alternative viewpoints on certain situations. You Are Not So Smart by David McRaney. A cool, fun read. If you want the transcript, go to feelgoodenglish.com/member. Get the transcript to this so you can read what I mentioned here and learn more deeply. And until then, have a wonderful day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep opening your mind. And how about an English joke for the day? When I was a kid, my English teacher looked my way and said, hey, name 2 pronouns. And I said, who, me? See you in the next lesson.